So for this video, I wanted to talk about my lighting style in these modules. So in the actual ISS, the lighting is bright, clinical, and uniform. And the reason for this is because the astronauts inside, they're engineers, they're scientists, they're repairing things, they're making experiments. They have to see everything clearly. Everything needs to be uniform and bright. I like that. I like to take that aspect of it and put it in this game. Now, in game development, on the lighting artist side, this is kind of heresy, because the lighting in most games would essentially be designed in a way to guide the player in some sort of way. For example, if the area is danger, the lighting will probably gear towards red, not towards blue or white or green. That's kind of always been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. I think lighting can be left alone in a way. It can be naturalistic while still being interesting. It is much harder to achieve that, but I think I kind of want to preserve that. So that's the lighting side on an artistic level. So the next thing I want to talk about is the tone mapping. So tone mapping in Unity, if you're using the HDRP pipeline, defaults to ACES tone mapping. And although the ACES tone mapping is, good in certain cases, it certainly isn't for this one. And the reason for this is because it increases the contrast and it darkens the colors in a way where if I would have to compensate for it, I would have to bring the exposure and overall brightness up heavily. And I don't like to do that in this case, because I think the best color and lighting adjustments are the ones that are subtle and don't heavily change the image. They just bring up what already was there in a very subtle way. That's when I found the AGX tone mapping online on GitHub. Maybe I'll post a link on it if I can find it. And it was great because it handles highlights pretty well. It feels naturalistic. It doesn't destroy the colors, and it adds a little desaturation that feels natural. So that's pretty good. So on a technical side, I'm using a technique called adaptive probe volumes. Now, if you're a Unity developer, you already know what I'm about to say. So adaptive probe volume is a global illumination system that automatically manages and scatters your light probes in the environment in a grid-like manner. And the environment samples the lighting from these light probes. And it's an incredible technique. I actually really love this. The first time I actually came across this technique wasn't through Unity, but it was through reading the development papers of Demon's Souls and Shadows of the Colossus remake. And Bluepoint used a very similar technique, if not the same, although I do think that Bluepoint's implementation is a little bit more advanced. But at any rate, it's a great technique, and it's pre-computed, meaning that you get a lot of performance benefits. And it can be, depending on the density of the probe volume, very accurate. And so the lighting is kind of nice. Now, eventually, I'm going to consider more dynamic lighting, especially through URP, because Unity kind of is shutting down HDRP. I know that URP has surface cache GI, but it's in the beta phases, and I'm kind of worried about performance. But we'll see. It might work well. Dynamic lighting will open up the possibilities of my game, because every time the player dies, I eventually want to implement a sort of like changing environment. So the modules reassemble themselves in a different way every time the player restarts. So yeah, that's actually, lighting is very simple in this game. It's supposed to be naturalistic, and it's supposed to do all the work. I need to leave it alone once I set it in place. And so, yeah, that's about it. See you next time.